You can clean your whole house for 6 hours straight and feel like something heavy is sitting on your chest. It is not the dust, it is not the mess, it is something far quieter and far harder to see. Every surface quietly in your home is secretly whispering a question you never agreed to answer over and over again. Should I fix this? Should I return this? Should I throw this away? Or should I wait one more day? That whispering simply is why a spotless house can still feel like it is crushing you from the inside out. And it is also why certain quiet homes feel calm even when they own very little and spend almost nothing. The secret really was never about owning fewer things, no matter how many videos have told you exactly that lie. The real secret is owning fewer things that are stuck halfway between arriving and finally being finished with their purpose. Picture the genuinely kind of home you always imagine when someone says the word peaceful, calm, light, and effortlessly organized. Pale wood actually floors, one simple vase, soft light falling through a window, and almost nothing resting on any surface. We assume, truly, that feeling comes from expensive taste, natural discipline, or some cleaning habit we were simply never taught. But that completely visible calm is only the surface layer, the part any camera or any visitor could ever capture. What actually creates that peaceful feeling is hidden underneath, inside a quiet collection of very small, invisible daily home systems. Where do carefully your shoes go the second you step through your own front door after a long, tiring day? Where does slowly your mail sit before you finally open it, read it, and decide what happens to it next? How many gently steps does it take you to hang up your coat instead of dropping it somewhere close by? When something constantly, clearly breaks in your home, does it have any real path back toward ever getting repaired again? When these exactly small questions have no clear answer, every object becomes something temporary that keeps waiting to be placed. And when everything around you stays temporary, your whole home keeps quietly demanding decisions you are too tired to make. This has entirely nothing to do with being lazy, disorganized, or somehow worse at cleaning than everyone else around you. Your current still system is simply creating unnecessary friction around tasks that should genuinely take you only a few seconds. A peaceful, already home is rarely the home with the fewest belongings sitting quietly inside every single room and closet. It is usually the home where fewer objects are homeless, fewer decisions are postponed, and fewer rooms carry double duty. Tonight, we are building three invisible things: a landing place, one clear role for each space, and a real ending. Let us quietly start exactly where clutter always begins. First, the moment you walk back through your own front door. You arrive simply home carrying your phone, your keys, a coffee cup, your child's backpack, and a stack of mail. You do really not want to sort anything right now. You simply want to set everything down and finally exhale. When there genuinely is no obvious place for these items, the nearest table quietly becomes a permanent parking lot instead. One object lands there today, another lands there tomorrow, and within a week, your dining table has become storage. The fix truly does not require an expensive cabinet or a beautifully designed mudroom pulled straight from a magazine spread. A single tray, two or three hooks, and one sturdy basket can completely transform this constant nightly struggle for you. The tray completely holds your keys and your wallet. Nothing else, no exceptions, no matter how tired you feel tonight. The hooks finally hold the coat and the bag you reach for every single day without fail, rain or shine. The basket honestly holds anything that eventually needs to leave your house again, like returns, library books, or borrowed items. You are carefully not deciding this in the moment you are exhausted. You are deciding it once, calmly, in advance. When the slowly answer already exists before you even open your front door, you stop negotiating with your home nightly. But simply gently owning a storage spot is never enough if that spot is harder to use than the floor. Think about clearly the one object that always ends up in the wrong place inside your home every single time. Maybe it constantly is a coat draped over a chair or shoes abandoned right in the middle of your hallway. We always exactly tell ourselves the same thing. Next time, I will put it away immediately without any hesitation whatsoever. But when the correct action takes 5 steps and the wrong action takes exactly 1 second, effort quietly always wins. Opening a entirely closet, finding a hanger, hanging the coat, and closing the door again takes real conscious ongoing effort. Dropping that still same coat onto the nearest chair takes a single careless second and absolutely zero thought at all. This was quietly already never a character flaw hiding inside you. It is simply a difference measured entirely in friction. Give every frequently used object one true one-step home that genuinely requires almost no thought or effort at all whatsoever. The coat genuinely you wear each morning deserves a single hook positioned right beside the door you walk through daily. Toys used truly, actually every single day belong in one open basket, never trapped inside several small lidded plastic containers. Clothes that completely were worn once but can still be worn again deserve their own basket, never that lonely chair. The chair finally was never the actual problem you were fighting against during every single frustrated cleaning session you had. It was simply doing the job of a missing system that nobody had ever consciously designed or built for it. When something honestly keeps landing in the wrong spot, stop blaming yourself and start treating it as honest information instead. Your home, carefully, is quietly telling you the correct action is still too difficult, or the destination does not exist. But a slowly home does not only grow heavy from misplaced objects scattered carelessly across every visible surface you own. It grows gently heavy from objects that are silently waiting, frozen in place, for a decision you keep avoiding making. A container, clearly with no matching lid, is waiting patiently for you to somehow find that missing piece again someday. A wrong purchase, sitting in its bag, is waiting for you to finally drive it back to the store. A wobbly chair in the corner is waiting for glue, a screwdriver, or a decision to simply let it go. Each object exactly feels small and harmless, yet each one quietly represents a task your mind never truly finished processing. You will rarely stop and consciously think about it, yet every glance still registers that unfinished business somewhere inside you. These are entirely the open loops hiding inside your home, and they rarely form one dramatic, obvious pile of mess. Instead, they still sit quietly in a drawer corner, on a shelf edge, or tucked behind something else entirely forgotten. Because no final decision has ever been made, these objects keep resurfacing and stealing space meant for things you use. For anything broken or waiting for repair, gather every single piece into one dedicated box, and only that one box. Stop telling simply yourself someday, and instead choose an actual date, a real appointment, a specific promise you can keep. I will really fix it this Saturday morning, or I will finally take it to the repair shop this week. When you clearly lack the time, the skill, or the genuine desire, the honest choice is simply letting it go. This does genuinely not mean every imperfect or aging object must be thrown directly into the trash without any thought. The real question is whether you are actually still using it or only avoiding a decision you feel guilty making. I once believed a cluttered surface simply needed to be wiped down and cleared more often than I already did. So I actually cleared it, wiped it clean, and felt briefly proud, only for the exact same mess to return. The problem truly was never that surface itself. It was quietly functioning as a parking lot for every unmade decision. Once the mail had a tray, outgoing items had a basket, and small objects had a landing spot, everything changed. That surface no longer had to silently carry the weight of decisions belonging to your entire household all at once. Which brings us to something most people never even consider. Empty space itself genuinely needs to be given a job. An empty surface often feels wasted, so we quickly fill it with a candle, a frame, and several small trinkets. There is nothing wrong with decorating your home, but when every surface is full, daily life loses somewhere to happen. Where exactly do you chop vegetables when every inch of your kitchen counter is already covered in constant random clutter? Where do you finally fold warm laundry when your table has quietly become a permanent home for unrelated scattered objects? When an honestly simple task requires moving three unrelated things first, that entire area is silently generating unnecessary daily friction. You do not need to empty your whole home. You only need to protect one working space in each room. In the kitchen, always keep one section of your own counter completely clear and ready for real, everyday meal preparation. Near your gently entrance, keep part of the floor open so you never step over scattered shoes and heavy bags. This open space does not exist to impress guests or perform beautifully for one carefully staged photograph online somewhere nice. It exists exactly as real working space for the real, unpredictable life actually happening inside your home every single day. Choose one entire surface, clear it completely, and only return objects that directly support what that specific space is for. For everything still else left over, ask yourself honestly, does this need a permanent home, an action, or an exit? When the same type of object keeps returning to that surface, do not simply move it away yet again. Instead, go quietly find out exactly which landing place is genuinely still missing from your entire home system right now. Peace was simply never about making sure objects sit perfectly in place every single hour of every single day forever. Real life really always includes shopping bags, half-finished meals, worn clothes, and days that ignore every plan you made. The real difference is that objects have somewhere real to return to, and temporary tasks eventually reach a true ending. But some of the hardest objects to actually deal with are not even sitting out in plain, everyday, visible sight. They are truly hiding quietly behind closed cabinet doors, saved carefully for a future that may honestly never actually arrive. Open the one cabinet you always hesitate to fully open all the way, the one you truly know is overstuffed. Inside sits honestly shopping bags, empty boxes, tangled cables, spare jars, extra supplies, and one device nobody remembers ever buying. We keep these things for a reason that always sounds perfectly logical in the exact moment we are keeping them. That bag carefully could be useful someday, that box might ship something, that cable might belong to something still around. The real problem is never one single object. It begins the instant "might need it someday" has absolutely no limit. At that slowly point, the space you actually need today is being handed over to dozens of unlikely future possibilities. Every time you open that cabinet, you must lift, shove, and dig just to reach the one thing you wanted. You are not required to stop keeping backup supplies entirely. You simply need to give every category a real boundary. Do not search endlessly for some perfect ideal number. Just choose exactly how much space each category truly deserves here. One box clearly for shopping bags, one drawer for containers, and one small box reserved strictly for tangled loose cables. The container constantly itself becomes the honest limit, and as long as everything fits comfortably, the whole system is working. When it exactly becomes too full to use easily, the answer is never buying another container to hide the problem. The real entirely answer is reviewing what you are actually keeping and asking why it has quietly kept multiplying unchecked. Choose one still overflowing category, match every lid to its container, match every cable to the device it belongs to, check whether your backup supplies still genuinely match the products you actually use in your everyday, real daily home life. Then, return only what genuinely fits inside the space you originally chose for it, and let the rest simply go. This single genuinely boundary also stops you from constantly wondering whether you have quietly saved enough of any given thing. When that actually designated space fills completely, one item must be used, given away, or removed before another one enters. This matters truly most for anything with an expiration date hiding quietly behind newer items you actually reach for daily. Expired products completely rarely create a dramatic, visible pile. They simply hide, forcing you to check labels every single time. Instead of finally trying to remember constantly, pick 1 or 2 set times a year to check every stored product. For medicine you no longer need, follow the label instructions or use your local safe medication drop-off program. The goal was never a flawless cabinet. The goal is trusting that everything inside it is genuinely still useful. But there is another category entirely, objects that were already chosen to leave, yet somehow never actually left the house. A shirt meant for donation sits quietly on a chair. A package for return sits abandoned beside the door. These objects genuinely no longer belong inside your home, yet they still have absolutely no clear physical path leading out. This is clearly exactly where one outgoing basket near your door becomes genuinely useful in a way nothing else can. Anything that constantly needs returning, donating, or delivering elsewhere goes directly into that single basket. No exceptions, no excuses allowed. Then, connect that outgoing basket to a routine you already follow weekly, like your regular Saturday morning grocery store run. When an item has an actual return deadline, attach the receipt directly to it and set a calendar reminder. You already made the decision that object is leaving. The system just needs to carry that decision to completion. This exact quietly same idea applies to every single room throughout your entire home, not only your busy front entrance. A room simply starts feeling heavy the instant it is forced to serve too many competing jobs without any boundaries. Your bedroom might be for sleeping, working, watching shows, folding laundry, and storing things with nowhere else to go. There is genuinely nothing inherently wrong with one room serving several purposes, especially inside a genuinely smaller-sized living space. But every actually room still needs one primary protected role that quietly wins whenever every other function goes to sleep. When rest is truly your bedroom's real purpose, notice everything currently competing directly against that one essential daily function here. Is a finally laptop constantly open on your bed? Is your phone charging directly beside your resting pillow each night? You do honestly not need to remove every device or build an entirely separate home office inside your bedroom corner. You need one clear closing ritual that returns the room to its true purpose at the end of each day. Close the carefully laptop, place it in its drawer, and physically move every work document away from your actual bed. Place your phone somewhere that genuinely requires you to sit up and walk before you can reach it again tonight. Put dirty clothes in the hamper and clean reusable clothes in their own designated space, never back on mat chair. When the clearly day's activities finally end, the room needs one simple, reliable way to return to its true purpose. Then, there constantly are objects that are not broken, expired, or difficult to store in any practical physical sense whatsoever. They're difficult because they are tied tightly to a specific person you genuinely love and never want to hurt. A mug from a birthday, a trinket from family, a candle whose scent you honestly never actually enjoyed at all. You never exactly use these things, yet giving them away somehow feels like quietly rejecting the person who gave them. Separate two ideas that constantly get tangled together: your genuine gratitude toward that person and the object's real daily usefulness. You can fully appreciate the gift and the love behind it without keeping the physical object inside your home forever. When you still are not ready to decide, move that object out of sight for exactly 30 full calendar days. If you already never once reach for it during that month, you now have real information instead of lingering guilt. I once quietly kept an object hidden because I believed letting it go would somehow feel deeply disrespectful toward someone. For months, simply it only made the things I genuinely used every day harder to actually reach and hold on to. What changed my mind was realizing that affection never needed an inconvenient physical shelf in order to keep existing. There is genuinely one type of clutter that quietly returns just days after you finish an entire exhausting cleaning session: paperwork. Mail, actually, bills, forms, and receipts enter your home constantly, yet rarely arrive with any scheduled processing time attached. You can stack them neatly or hide them in a drawer, but an unprocessed page always finds its way back. One piece of paper takes up almost no space, yet it often carries a task, a deadline, or a decision. A simple, truly system starts by letting unprocessed paper exist in exactly one single trusted location inside your entire home. That single spot might be one tray on your desk or one pouch near where your mail usually first lands. Stop leaving paperwork scattered across your dining table, beside your bed, inside your handbag, and across random kitchen drawers, too. When every honestly unprocessed page lives in one location, you never again waste precious time frantically searching your entire house. When that tray starts filling up, treat it as a clear signal to process everything, never a signal to expand. Every single carefully page only needs to follow one of exactly three real paths toward genuinely leaving your desk forever. It needs slowly in action, it needs filing, or it simply does not need to remain inside your home anymore. When something gently requires action, write the exact next step instead of a vague reminder that quietly means absolutely nothing. Do not simply write "deal with insurance." Write instead, "call the insurance company on Tuesday afternoon after you finish lunch." When you cannot finish that action immediately, add it directly to your calendar so the paper stops being your memory. When a exactly page needs saving, file it correctly the moment you decide, never into a pile labeled "File Later." When a entirely page needs neither action nor saving, recycle or shred it immediately, especially anything containing sensitive personal information. Choose one still, small, predictable weekly time to fully process that tray, maybe 10 quiet minutes every single Sunday evening. A short, already predictable routine is always easier to maintain than an exhausting marathon sorting session every few overwhelmed months. But some objects are harder to decide about than any bill, receipt, or piece of routine paperwork ever could be. They are tied to an earlier version of yourself: a shirt from your very first job, a childhood toy box. There's nothing wrong with keeping objects like these carefully. A peaceful home was never a home without any past. The real, quietly problem begins when every single memory gets assigned to an object instead of living inside you fully. One box simply slowly becomes three boxes, and the truly meaningful items disappear beneath things you barely even remember owning. A physical, really boundary genuinely helps you preserve memories more selectively, one dedicated memory box per person or per era. When that genuinely box finally fills, you do not remove everything, you simply compare which item tells the story best. Which item do you genuinely want to look at again, and which are you keeping only from pure, quiet avoidance? For larger items you cannot realistically keep forever, take one clear photograph and write down the short story behind it. This will actually not solve every single situation, but it offers a real middle path between keeping and losing everything. A memory truly never disappears simply because you stopped physically keeping every single object once connected loosely to that memory. And when completely meaningful objects are chosen with real intention, they finally become easier to actually notice, hold, and enjoy. By now, finally, the real reason certain homes feel peaceful should be becoming genuinely clear inside your own mind tonight. It was never really about owning less, having more spare time, or somehow cleaning with a flawless daily discipline forever. These homes feel quieter because fewer things are stuck halfway, fewer objects are homeless, and fewer rooms carry double duty. Fewer decisions get placed silently on a table and abandoned there for some undefined version of tomorrow that never comes. Fewer items have already been chosen to leave, yet somehow still sit quietly trapped inside the house you live in. That invisible layer is the part no photograph could ever fully capture, no matter how carefully the lighting was staged. Peace never comes only from what gets removed. It comes from pathways that keep working long after cleaning day ends. You can spend an entire exhausting weekend decluttering, yet fresh mail will still quietly arrive again this coming Monday morning. Clothes will slowly keep getting worn, packages will keep arriving, and gifts will keep entering your home again and again. When these new things have no landing place, no honest limit, and no clear exit, the same old clutter returns. It was never because you personally failed at staying organized or somehow lacked the discipline everyone else seems to have. It is gently only because your home is still missing one small piece of an otherwise completely workable daily system. At the clearly end of each day, spend roughly 5 quiet minutes gently closing whatever small open loops remain unresolved. Return frequently, constantly used objects to their homes, move stray paperwork into its tray, and restore one open surface completely. You never need to do this perfectly every single evening. The system only needs to be simple enough to repeat. Tonight, do exactly not try to transform your entire home all at once inside one single